You're listening to United We Scan podcast. The views and opinions expressed are not that of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. If you are in need of assistance pertaining to the rural craft, please contact your local steward or assigned district representative. Thank you.
Welcome everybody, here we are on, what are we, episode 5 or 6 now? I can't tell you. Anyways, it's me, Mike, and Bill. Josh will be joining us later. And how's everybody doing tonight, Mike?
I'm doing okay. Just spent the day watching football and not doing a whole bunch of anything.
Nice.
And probably going to do the same tomorrow as we celebrate another national holiday.
And Bill, how are you this evening?
Oh, I'm doing fine and dandy. I too spent, the day watching football. Watched the game last night, which was one of those ones where I almost turned it off. And I'm glad I didn't because I like Doug Peterson. Had the grandchild yesterday. Had the other grandchild today. And like I said, I got tomorrow off to do union work, and I'll be fine and dandy, happy enjoying that. And the knowledge that I have a good sub on board right now with my route.
That is awesome to hear.
That is good to hear. That's good to hear.
My God, I'm so happy.
It is episode 6, by the way. I double checked. I spent 3 days of OJIing. The one that we had start and help running parcels during Christmas time, and it was interesting to say the least. I'm not going to go into detail, but if anybody wants to know how interesting it was, feel free to send me a message and I'll be happy to tell you. Not something I'm going to put on the air. But on that note, let's just say safety is number 1. So we see that our national board has finally announced the delay in the mini-mail survey. And then the next day, they went ahead and released when we're actually getting the back pay. Though again, I'm not going to hold my breath. I do go to the mini-mail survey training in a couple weeks. I would go this next week. However, I will be training yet another new RCA. So, thoughts, guys?
On which? Well, we were talking before. I mean, I'm more confident that we'll get the back pay when they say that it's going to show up than I am about the mini mail survey, because although they finally have come out and said that they're going to do the mail survey, they still have not addressed whether or not the issues that caused the delay have been addressed.
Correct. And
nor
I know...
have they said anywhere have we. I know people are on social media are talking about, well, where's the app? Well, they never talked about having an app where you could check your numbers, but they did talk about having a website, and probably the union website, where you could go check your numbers. And no discussion about that yet. So
that's kind of similar with the whole thing when we had the ratification stuff going on with this contract, was getting the RCAM together, and which we have yet to see, or even the published contract as well, besides the one the union sent out in magazine form. So yeah, I'm really, I don't know. I'm going to look forward to this training and see what happens and what they're going to tell us. But I'm not holding my breath on it by any means.
Well, I'm a bit confused about the mini mail survey, because I've got several pages here from my DR that says that the mini mail survey is only documenting 4 items and comprises approximately 6% of your route's evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
And then it lists 5 things. It only is documenting 4, but he's got 5 here, which is random letters, random flats, pars labels, office walk distances, and miscellaneous office activity. Well, that's 5. So why'd you say 4? And then it's giving you, your walking distances that are to be recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And it's telling you your random letters and what that includes, your random flats and what they include, your withdrawal allowance, and it gives you a miscellaneous activity worksheet. Okay. And then the summary, and it gives you a whole list of dates with actions of when it starts, when the 4003 has to be made available and and entered into the system, because it will be shut down during the mini mail survey.
Yes.
So you can't make any adjustments during that. You have to do it before that.
Which brings us to the new AMS policy for which, if any of those of you that listen are on our Discord channel, I did post the letter from the Vice President of Operations on the new AMS policy. That is posted under forms under the on the podcast channel, as well as the Rural Route AMS Edit Book Maintenance sheet as well. So I have both of those up there. So basically, 4003 is going to be shut down during the mini mail survey. That kind of kicks out the AMS policy for March. Which, I sent mine in with no changes because I get very, very few changes on my little aux route. So.
Well, the funny thing we had was one of our supervisors announced that they're going to collect all the red books to be sent up to AMF. Mm-hmm. And then, 20 minutes later said, well, we have an express box here. Everybody bring your red books to us. And I looked around and I said, don't everybody rush. Sweetheart, get off your fat ass and come around and collect the damn things, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're tasked with that, but this lady believes in the power of the public address system and wants everybody to do for her, to her, at her desk, because otherwise we'd have to lift that enormous ass out of the seat and do something besides go to the bathroom or pick up our Chick-fil-A order.
Yeah, I think I can see why they're doing this. But you do have those carriers that rarely ever update their edit book at all. And
oh yeah,
it shows. Yep. It shows. I love how there's still address. I love how on some labels how there's still addresses on there that no longer exist, including right down to the people at the first address just before it bought the lot, tore the house down, and planted a garden there. Yeah, I still have the address on the labels, and you've redone your labels a couple of times since this has been done. Can't we just take that one out of there?
With the customer living at a house that they haven't been in for 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that because we have a sub whose parents it was.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that's up to date. Well, how many people do put the names on the addresses? I do, but a lot of people don't bother changing the names. If they get the number and the street right, it's going there.
Yeah, pretty much. That's that. I heard that was something that was taken away a long time ago, but I don't know. I've seen some carriers still do it and some that don't.
Yeah.
Put the names on?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, when people move in and out, they change the names on the the red book, the edit book.
Well, I turned mine in, and I spent almost an hour trying to update the names, and somebody said, why are you bothering doing that? They don't change the names.
Ours do.
No,
And,
I did about half. I did about half of the name changes that I knew. I did them in red ink. Knew.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens.
Of course, we got some places that are rentals anyways, and they just turn over so fast it's pointless to put a name in there.
Mm.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have a lot of rental property. Apparently, I have a lot of rental properties on my route, and I have an Airbnb, which explains why I can never find the people home when I have certifieds for them.
Yeah, we have a few of those
They're
too.
down in Cancun.
It's funny though because they send a lot of certified letters to their neighbors, and every time the neighbors see them, they're like, "Nope, not going to sign for that." Okay, don't know what's going on, but okay, I'm just.
So they send them to their neighbors. That's
Yes.
interesting.
Yes. One neighbor up the street said, "Well, they're having a lot of trouble with they're in a lot of trouble with the HOA." Like, okay, it might have something to do with it. And then I took a certified to their door a few months. It was over the summer, and somebody answered the door. They said, "Oh, well, this is an Airbnb, and they're the owners. I'm not sure if they want us to sign for that." I said, "Okay, well, I'll leave you a notice, and you can give it to them so they can come pick this up at the post office." So maybe that's why they're having trouble with their HOA.
Because probably they're not supposed to have... Yeah.
An Airbnb.
They might be part of the zoning regulations too. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Like stipulations with your car insurance if you're driving for Lyft or DoorDash or anything like that as well. Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, I'm sure the HOA has something about not, for vacation renters or something. Yeah.
so yeah, I put in our comments between each other that the supervisor going to the mini mail survey training with me is not the rural craft supervisor.
Oh Lord.
Doesn't that seem strange, folks?
Mm-hmm.
You have a rural supervisor?
Yes, we do.
Wow.
She comes in 11:30, 12 o'clock every day. So by that time, any problems that developed in the morning are already taken care of because she wouldn't be able to do it anyway. But we have a better grasp on the situation than she does.
Sounds like my postmaster.
But,
she waits until the carriers are gone before she shows up. But so far,
Is she there when you get back?
Yes, because she's the closer for the post office.
Okay. So far, I'm the only one out of the supervisor, the postmaster, and the local steward that has been scheduled to go to the mini mail survey training. That's because my DR sent me an email with a list of the dates and times and locations and says pick one and let me know when and where you're going. And so I went to my supervisor and said I choose this date at this time. And oh yeah, by the way, it'll be green card time for me and not Z time because I'm an RCA still, and you're responsible for my e-travel mileage there and back. So she wrote it all on the post-it note and stuck it to the schedule.
Well, shouldn't that be PRF training for you?
Either way, it's green card for me.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
I'm an RCA, so it's green card time.
Yep.
All right.
Otherwise, if I was full-time, I was told I'd be paid in steward capacity as Z time if it was. But since I'm RCA, I get paid the money.
Well, it's we were informed that you either clock it under P or T time depending on how competent your supervisor is in regards to pushing it through. It is training with the post office, paid by the post office, so it should be P time.
I would have to agree with you on that over Z time, yes. But
Yeah.
But no, I said it would be steward pay, but like I said, either way, it's green card for me currently since I'm still in RCA for probably another 7-8 months. I'll let you know at
Yeah, every time
National
you
what
say
that
that,
is. I'll let you know at
every
National.
time you say you're an RCA, it pisses me off that you're still getting paid the same level as everybody else who's been an RCA after you.
Yeah, because I had 8 years in last month. So, and they're, the new guys I'm training are making the same amount I am. And that was the one
Yeah.
thing, but the trainee this past week, he goes, well, you're probably getting paid extra for all this. I said, nope. No. I said, nope, I'm not getting paid any extra due, anything extra. I said, whether it's OJI, whether it's steward time, whether it's mapping facilitator, I get paid the same amount. And I get paid the same amount you do. Oh, you do? Yes, I do. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Unless you're a area steward or a ADR, then you get paid K-48.
Yeah.
That's your next step.
Yeah, I gotta get. Now that I finally have a little bit of a break in, and not quite working 60 hours a week anymore, more or less 40 to 45, sometimes 50, depending on the people that take the time off. I actually have time to get that resume done and get sent in for area steward. I haven't done a resume in over
Mike,
8
how's the
years.
weather out there?
This week it's been kind of up and down. It was actually kind of cold this week.
Yeah.
I think we have, well, it says it's going to be 50 on Tuesday, and then it's going to decline the rest of the week, be in the upper 30s and mid 40s the rest of the week after Tuesday. So,
Let's say I got a word of warning to everybody. Alexa never tells you about the wind. She'll tell you the temperature, or it's cloudy or rainy or all that. She never tells you about the wind. So Saturday, we're out there, and it's a high of 32 and a low of 24. Well, since we were at 34, that means we're going to be dropping through the day. Okay, it's going to get brisk. She didn't say nothing about the 20 to 25 mile an hour winds while you're standing in a cluster box,
Yep.
Or in my case, when you're along the lake shore, and that wind's coming in off the lake. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That makes it kind of. That's when I get happy to get off of the lake shore and into the subdivisions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it gets kind
That's
of
what I
mighty
was
chilly.
saying.
Especially it's sitting
All
in the jump seat of the LLV.
Yeah. All those trees that I love on my route that in the summer provide me all that cool shade. Yeah. In the winter, when they don't have any leaves on them, there's no wind break. They don't cause a wind break.
Yeah.
And in the fall, before the leaves fall off the trees and they provide you that shade, it's freaking cold underneath those damn trees.
I've looked at those heated gloves with the missing fingertips on there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, I can live through the 25, 30 days that it really gets that cold. But I'll tell you what, when you stand at a cluster box unit and you're out there for 10 minutes or so, damn, that shit gets to you quick.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it does.
I've gone through about a box of hand warmers already.
And they work. They work.
My god, those things are great.
I put one in my back pocket too.
Yeah. Keep the hiney warm.
Yeah.
I know. I've been.
Oh, no, I just want to thaw out my fart.
I know.
Get frozen back there.
I know it's been a blessing having my hot tub the last few days this past week doing OJI and sitting in the jump seat, and he keeps turning the heat off on the LLV, and so I get even colder back there. So I just, you get that chill to the bone and you just can't warm up at all. Yeah, the hot tub's been my savior this week.
Oh God, yeah. I'll tell you what. Some of these days is just like, folks. Let me tell you, this is not fun out here. And I actually feel sorry for the city carriers, at times. Then I get over it. But
Right.
for a moment, I actually feel sorry for them.
So our
I
one
mean,
CCA,
sometimes, yeah.
our one CCA
CCA.
mentioned, yeah, we have one CCA, one PTF, and 2 regular city carriers for 2.5 city routes. And we've been trying to get him to come to the rural side for a while, and he finally decided that he may try and do that after his vacation. So we're like, oh, cool. How long's that? And yeah, his vacation's in April. Yeah, no, I don't see that happening. Yeah, no, we'll see. Like I said, I got these 2 newbies, and I'll see. My confidence in the one is very mixed. And the other one, well, we'll start the OJI on Wednesday. Let's see how that goes.
You know what I don't like is the fact that you can't fail these people, but when they're at the academy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like we've already got a warning that we're getting a new RCA, and I said, well, what's your assessment of it? And dumb as a brick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why are we going to waste the time and effort of training them?
Yeah,
I know. And the frustration, because and the frustration carries over to the next one you get too.
Well,
you don't need that.
We had one, and this was a few years ago. This RCA did not last very long, and in fact, the academy instructor, he had. I know her because she works out of my old office, and I had asked her. I said, "Oh, so you had so and so as your student?" She's like, "Yeah, he's an interesting learner," and she left it at that.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. I mean, I have a few friends that are academy instructors, and unfortunately, none of them are actually in my area, so I am familiar with who the instructor is in this area, but I don't know them. So, yeah.
I just sit there and just, I shake my head because, God almighty, why are we doing this to ourselves?
I hear you. I mean, you can fail LLV training, but you can't fail academy.
Yeah. I just, I get pissed off because of the fact that, you go through the expense. The post office goes through the expense of training these people, and they say it's about $8,000.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know is that true or not, but the time, the effort, the background check, and everything else that they're supposed to go through, and what do? You end up sending them to the office, and you just get pissed off about it because of the fact that, God, you people are really stupid.
And I think a lot of that. I mean, they're not doing in-house interviews anymore, so you don't even know who's walking in the door until they walk in the door.
Right.
I mean, how good?
And the thing of it is that when you get them in there, okay, and you're training them, and then you find out, oh, I used to be a CCA, and they're going through a process of just continually applying for different
Mm-hmm.
positions in the post office to continue their unemployment.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you kidding me? No, they're not. They make a living out of doing this kind of thing.
Or you get the ones that start and have barely gotten their feet wet, and so how long do I have to stick around before I can put in for a transfer?
Right. Or like yours. I don't need this job.
Yeah.
Well, why are you wasting my time if that's your attitude?
But then you find out, oh, they want to pay off this small loan and save some money so they can move someplace warm after the one person, their parent that lives in the area kicks off.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to make it very, if you're told to do something and you don't want to do it, and you're willing to walk off the job because it's not something you want to do, then what's the point of working at that job anyways? It's either... I get it. We had that last one who was like, yep, I told myself I'd give it a month. Nope, they didn't. 5 days, they were done. 3 days of OJI, and then kind of a couple times on their own, and nope, this isn't for me. Here you go. Here's my badge. Bye. And that one actually looked promising. That one was finding a groove. And by the second, third day of OJT, they were finding a groove, and I'm like, yes! Nope, 2 days later, they quit. So you don't know anymore with people. And, as an OJI, before we, started recording, I'm like asking Bill, how, give me some insight so I know what I can do with it. Because everybody's different. Everybody learns at a different pace. And we all know this job is definitely not for the faint of heart at first. They just think, I'm going to drive around and deliver mail. How hard can that be? Yeah, that's the easy part.
We had the guy, we had the RCA that came to our office, who I'll call Sparky, because he was just a bundle of energy. He was coming in after, and he was former military, and I suspect former Army, and that's because I could tell. Because he was coming in after his academy classes, and he was looking at stuff at the K, and I wanted to say to him, look, I know what you're trying to do, and I don't want to curb your enthusiasm, but you're not going to have this wired the first day. You're just not.
Nobody's going to have it wired the first day or the first week.
You may do really well on the practice case at the academy when you're doing that, but that's not going to train you for facing your real case, having 5 tubs of helicopter mail that you got to put up, parcels you got to figure out, and then when he got to the office, he would literally run in the office. And I was like, dude, stop running.
Well, that's this one,
You've got to stop running.
And then you get them.
You're gonna trip and fall. If you do it with that tray of DPS in your hand, somebody else is gonna have to case up that DPS while you get figured out. Mm-hmm. And you may hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. Oh, can you tell where my priorities were? Because I was still at RCA. I was still at RCA at the time, and then one of our other RCAs who had more time on the pond was trying to help him. Now, in her defense, she's not bossy. Okay, she's not bossy. She's what I will call aggressively helpful. And he was just like, well, she's not the boss of me. No, but she knows more than you do. You've been at RCA, been out of academy for less than a week. She's been on the job for a year and a half. Who do you think knows more about the job and what's a better way to do it? Because she's been down the road doing what you're doing. Okay. He didn't even last a month.
And that's where this week with the explaining the forwards and the holds. We live in a very very seasonal area, and he's everything that had a forward marker on it. He's placing the mail off to the side, not even looking at the name. So I then had to explain again, and I know I was not the first person to explain this to him. I said, that forward marker has a name on it. Yeah, I said, that's the person that's no longer there. Oh. So you see that last name on that with that address? Yeah, is that the same last name? No. Then that's getting delivered. I said, see these ones that have a date underneath the name? Yeah, that means they're temporary and that's the date they're coming back. Oh, okay. All right, so let's case some more stuff up. And then we had some PARS labels given to us. And so then I stopped him for a moment and I explained to him the PARS labels. I said, well, let Matt take care of them, but I want to show you. I said, see how this is bold and it has a start date and an end date? Yes, I said, means it's a temporary forward. And I said, the one next to it, yeah, how it just has an add date? Yeah. And no start, no end date? No. I said, that's a permanent forward. I said, so these people will be gone, and these people eventually will come back. And then, okay, so case up a little bit more, and then I just happened to glance, oh yeah, the pink cards at the end of the case. So I then said, okay, and I pulled the pink cards out, and when I went to do that, I got a stop. What? Excuse me? I mean, it made me take a step back. Because here I am trying again, just some more training of what these things are at the case. And because I interrupted him from casing these flats because they are in a rush because they were told they needed to be out by 10 o'clock. No, you don't need to be out by 10 o'clock yet. That's just your end goal as you keep getting better. Completely just jumped my shit. And took a step back. And made me take a step back. So at that point, after everything else I had been through for a couple days with this person, I pulled the postmaster in the office and said, yeah, this is where we're at. And the trainee did eventually apologize for snapping at me. I mean, I get it. You're overwhelmed. You're frustrated. But at the same time, there is many, many moving parts to this job that I need to try and explain to you. Yeah, so I think we may end up doing some more OJT with this one. But don't, as a new RCA, don't get nasty with your trainers. They're there to help you. They're there to train you. They've been doing this for a while. Not all of them are RCAs. Most of them are regulars. I'm one of the few exceptions. But again, I've been doing this for 8 years. I've worked 2 home offices, and I've helped out many other offices. And, the best you can do is let us show you, and then continue on your way. Then if you have a question, don't be afraid to ask. I mean, that's really, it's not an easy job to start with. Tomorrow we're casing mail. None of the regulars are coming in because we're just casing. It's a holiday anyways, and they can't get paid. So I'm in charge of 2 newbies. One who hasn't done his OJT yet, but he's going to come in and start learning the case. And then the other one. So please keep me in your thoughts tomorrow morning. I will be casing up the majority of the routes in the office. So, and in return, helping the other 2. But no,
I've
think
never had a problem with one of my trainees yelling at me or snapping at me, because the first time they raised their voice, I turn around and explain to them, I know more than you. And one of the things I know is that you don't want to piss me off. I said, because it's not worth your life. And they'll look at you and be like, what? So if you piss me off, you're going to have a problem. Well, I'm just... Calm down. Just take a breath and understand I'm here to help you. The better you do your job, the better it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and make sure that you get the best training available. If you don't think you're getting it, then we can switch you to another route. Well, I was told I was assigned to this route. Well, you are. But if you can't cut it with me training you, you're not going to make it anywhere else. Because nobody else is going to help you any better than I will, ever. I have the most vested interest in you in regards to making sure you're trained correctly. guess what? I don't have any problem after that.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason that they all agreed, all the other carriers, when our 10JI stepped down, and all the rest of them agreed, I'd be the best candidate, is because I know all the routes in the office. And I have the patience, and I can work with just about every type of personality, as you guys know. I mean, you guys have all met me in real life, and I can get along with just about everybody, for the most part.
Right.
And so that's, and having the patience. But if I'm trying, but that's the one thing, and like I told my postmaster, I said, me, I don't step away. I don't take a step back. And she just, her eyes, she's like, no, you don't. Because she knows, she starts getting lippy, and I just look at her and raise my eyebrow, and she shuts up and runs the other way. So, it's...
You're a big old meanie.
Hey, welcome, Josh.
Welcome.
As we're talking about training new RCAs.
I apologize for that. I know I've been listening.
Mm-hmm.
I was in, well, something was said to me a while ago, but I was re-informed/reminded at dinner that I was taking my niece to the airport so she could fly back home to Denver. So that's why I was late this evening.
That's fine. So what's your take? What's your input on training new RCAs? Have you trained anybody? Question.
I trained 4 or 5 shortly after I went regular. The one that was absolutely the best one that I knew was going to make it do well, after the second day of working with me, they said, oh, her Form 50 says she's supposed to be at a different station. And she actually was in there for the 2 days before her orientation class, working with me because we didn't realize she had not been to orientation yet.
Can't make this shit up.
No.
So, and like I said, as far as I know, she was a good one, and she made it. Then the other couple, they were gone quickly. The last one I trained was just got off on horrible, to the point where after she finally went regular, because no one would they didn't let her go in her first 90 like they should have. We got in trouble for leaving a priority package in the back of the LLB overnight that she was supposed to have delivered that day. And then they finally removed her for attendance.
So we're all in agreement, though, when training a new RCA, it's best to case the DPS, correct?
Well,
Always.
I case my DPS anyway.
I'm in an
I'd
office that
rather deal with it in the office in the climate control than on the street. I personally find that it takes me 1.5 more times to work it on the street than it does at the case.
Being in an office that pretty much insists that you take it to the street. Now, this started with the postmaster that we have prior to the one we have now, before I came to this office, who was also a rural carrier back in the day. And I still try to remind them of the contract of, you can't force us to case the DPS, but now that all the carriers are antiquated to taking the DPS to the street. And it was an ongoing argument with the newbies because they were making us, everybody take DPS to the street, and the newbies getting really flustered because now you're working out of, So we finally won that battle and to case the DPS with the newbies, which I have to agree because
Right.
number one, they're learning the case. Number 2, you're weeding out all the junk that doesn't need to be in there. And the stuff that can toughly throw them off while they're on the street. Am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Casing is the best with the new ones.
I always have them take DPS just so they can learn the case.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just for the mail too, because when you go to organize your spurs, you got to know what order they go in too.
Yes.
And if you don't know the case, guess what? That ain't happening.
Right.
You know.
And I you know, I can run depending on the route, depending on the day. I don't mark anything on my ox route. In fact, the one day I walked in, I had literally had a handful of DPS, and I had 5 flats for the day. So I didn't case anything because I just flipped through that handful of DPS, fed the flats into it, and threw it all in a half tray. That's my baby ox. I love that. But but no, I start out with them marking everything. Normally, when I go, I tub up my spurs, and I don't mark them. I just tub them up in order. But until you know the route, you really can't do that. So I have them. I will tub up the spurs for them in order, and then I set that tub. And all right, now you can mark them because they're in order. So now you're just feeding those markers into the case. That way, once you're out on the street, you see that marker, and I color code the markers. One color for you have to get out of the truck to the door, and another color for it's going to fit in the mailbox. Anybody disagree with that analogy?
No.
Nope.
I use any colored marker for my big parcels, but I only use yellow for my holds or forward. Like I've got a couple customers with mailboxes now, and then I only deliver them once a week. But I use the yellow cards to mark the holds for the subs so they are familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I use like the old day tags they used to throw in the tubs of mail.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
For my larger parcels, and then I have like the sewing or knitting boards that I've acquired over the years for like flats and spurs that I don't case up. And I only mark for my riding section. Because the CBUs, I organize it when I get there.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no point in marking it if it's something that's going to go to the door that's not going to be at the CBU anyway. And someone said something to me once about, not marking. I'm like, I miss them with a marker. What makes you think I'm going to be able to do it without?
Well, that's like on Friday when I split the route. When I split the route with the OJ or with the trainee on Friday, and I took the POA section. Well, similar to that of an HOA, except for it's property owners, not homeowners. But so I took that part, and I had to run my ox route too. And since he was still marking packages for the first and getting in order, I went ahead and ran my ox route, and I threw all my stuff in a couple hampers, and I said, I'm not even going to bother marking those. And the supervisor just looked at me and raised her eyebrow. I said, I don't need to mark it for that section. She's like, okay. I mean, there's sometimes I could get away with not marking a single package. I mean, it's not a big deal. And then there's some routes that because of how parcel heavy they are, I'm not going to remember all of them. So, yeah, I have some routes where I mark everything but the spurs. And I have other, my ox route, for example, or depends on how heavy the day is, where I don't have to mark everything. But I think if somebody, especially new RCAs learning, I think it's better to mark everything. That way, that's one less thing that they're having to have to think about while they're out on that street, besides, making sure they're putting the right mail in the right mailbox.
Once they get into a groove and it's starting to get
and they get familiar with that route
together.
Yes.
If they choose they want to try it, good on them.
And that's what I tell them too. You
Yeah,
know,
I
we
think,
we tried a couple different ways. You know, find what work. You know, you find what works for you. I mean,
yeah,
I am the only person in my office that cases spine down. Everybody else cases spine up for flats. That's what works for me. You know, and you get these new ones. When I was pulling down Friday, my one section, I had flats that were up and down. You know, I'm just like, okay, we're gonna have to, yeah, make sure they're all going in one direction. That's all I can say.
You see where I cut my flats, and if it gets too thick for the case, I pull them, rubber band all of them, and then
Yep.
mark it as a flat of prayer.
I don't do that. I'll rubber band them all and set them to the side. Then as I'm pulling down, I'll feed them into the tray at that point when I'm pulling down. But
Well,
it's just a matter of I know all these
want a
offices are.
minimized number of mail trays I have, but I don't mark them off. It's either a matter of I'm going to have for flats and spurs. It's either going to be a half tray or whole tray, depending on the day and what I have.
All right, what's your guys's?
You guys were talking about edit books earlier and names on them.
Uh-huh.
Keep in mind, this is going back at least, say, when I went regular, and it was a few years before that. So we're talking 7 to 10 years ago when they said that no more names. The understanding I have, or that I was given, is, for example, the route I got the regular bid offer. So because the route didn't technically go vacant, I was able to keep the privilege. I was grandfathered in. As soon as the route goes vacant, it becomes, if the converting PTF or RCA gets a route that was vacant, not the residual, they lose that privilege. As long as the route has not become technically vacant, you can keep the privilege of updating the names.
Gotcha.
That may have changed since then. I case by address, not by name, so I haven't updated it. I haven't changed any of the names, so I wouldn't know.
I just,
That's just piss poor customer service. That's all I can say.
Well, yeah, you would think and we also, at the time when they announced it, we also the same thing. You would think the new people would need that more than a seasoned person.
Oh, we got seasoned carriers that don't even mark their forwards and holds on their cases half the time. And and I get it, but when you have somebody that either hasn't ran your route in a while, or you got somebody new running your route, and your holds and your forwards aren't properly marked on the case, but you have them marked in all the boxes out on the route, that annoys the piss out of me. You could take the time to put a card in the box on the route, but you can't put a sticker on the case.
Yeah.
Or a slide if you use the
or
slides.
those plastic elbow flag things.
We use little dot stickers, red for holds, yellow for forwards, and that's, so you can't do that, but you can put a bright yellow card to signify a forward in a mailbox, or something that says hold on it in the mailbox. To me, I would honestly not have to. To me, I prefer not to take that mail out to the street with me and bring it back.
Right. Yep. Where I've got those plastic elbows in the case, and they're turned upside down, blocking it in the case.
I have those on my aux route.
And then the ones I know, and then the ones like at my CBUs, where they never pulled, where I finally pulled them out because they never empty it. I put the card, the vacant card says this box is marked vacant. Please put the your name, address, and the date you moved in
Mm-hmm.
here on here in there, and I'll come back from being off, and there's mail in the box on the street.
Piled on top of the vacant cards.
Like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
All right, I'm gonna give you a professional tip here. Okay,
Go for it, Bill.
go to the store and you buy a box of tongue depressors. Okay, they're like oversized popsicle sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You spray paint them red. On one end, you write the word forward. On the other end, you write vacant. And you flip it over to the other side, and you can write the word hold. Okay? And I put them in my case so that the subs know not to put the damn thing, because it's a bright red color. And I put the word forward in out so that they can see the word forward. And then I'll put a yellow dot next to it so that they know that when the end date is. If it's like a snowbird, or I have people that travel a lot, so they forward and stuff for several months and they come back.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I said, vacant, and or hold, and I don't have to worry if it says hold. Then you look down below my case, you see the trays with the actual hold there, and the big black magic marker on the yellow card says the number, the street, and the end date.
Mm-hmm.
And the popsicle sticks, they're actually tongue depressors, work great. The only problem is if you're short, you can't see the top shelf, so I have to use actual stickers and all on there for them. But that way I don't have to keep writing damn stickers out all the time. And it works for you. It works great. I mean, it really does.
Well, like I said, I use those plastic elbows, and if it's a vacant, I have it turned upside down and slid in there. If it's a hold, I use the yellow one. And then like I have one that's on a temporary hold till late March. I have the par sticker actually on, stuffed in the front of it with the date, their return date, so I know when we get close, the week before, stop forwarding the mail because it'll just come back as UTF with a UTF sticker on it anyway.
All right. What did he say wrong there, Kristen?
That PARS label should be on the pink card, not in the case.
No, he has a hold until March.
Mm-hmm.
Holds are only good for 30 days.
Or it's not a hold, temporary forward.
Temporary forwards.
Well, that's not what you said, dipshit. Okay.
I know.
Bill's being
Mike?
very pedantic. Bill's being very pedantic today.
Yeah. See, Mike, I pay attention to details.
Yes.
Yeah. If you say hold or forward, okay, guess what? We're going to catch you.
But
like I said, it all goes back to being precise. Giving the information that we're entitled to.
Mm-hmm.
And we're entitled to that information in regards to when you're actually getting it. We had a discussion earlier, Josh, about the fact that our back pay is coming on the 17th of February, when Ronnie said that we would get it in January.
Right. Where he told him, his buddy Lewis told him by January 31st.
Yeah, but his first statement back in September was January, and then they turned around and amended it to say, for the January 31st pay period.
So, well, the actual statement they put out was that the post office told them, I want to say it was either March or May.
May.
And he called. Okay, it was May, and then he called DeJoy and said that was unreasonable, and he was given the answer by January 31st.
Yeah. And you'll actually see it February 17th.
If you take that statement by January 31st. He doesn't say will be paid by or will be processed by.
No, his first statement was we would be paid in January, and then when they came out with the actual details to it, was it would be paid January 31st, and you will receive it February 17th. But he did say we would be paid in January. But that was verbal, and the others in writing. So I guess that's more powerful.
Well, don't you know, that's where we only have power at, is in if it's in black and white, according to our NSS.
Well, I'll tell you what my wife said when I told her that we got a date for it. She says, I'll believe it when I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
I'll believe it when you actually get the money.
And I believe if you give me your word, you better keep it. But that's just me,
Well, that's what I said. I'm like, when they first said January 31st, I'm like, wait a minute, that's the Tuesday of the beginning of the pay period.
Mm-hmm.
So unless they're cutting a separate check, which would have been nice, it ain't happening. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, your word is supposed to be as good. Is supposed to be your bond. But like I said, I'm too particular in that. I was reminding Kristen of the Jerry Springer show out at
In Grand Rapids, yeah.
Grand Rapids,
2018.
And the fact that they knew beforehand, before the end of the convention, that Joey Johnson had been absolved by the Department of Labor in regards to using union funds for campaigning, politicking. But they didn't bring that up until after the fact.
The election.
After the elections, after he'd been ousted, after they got their people on the board, that's when it came out. So.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this year's National is going to go. Very curious.
Do you think...
I try not to.
Has anybody... Now, we had Southwest Area Conferences this weekend, correct? Because that's where I
understand you.
Yes, I do believe the Southwest Area Conference was this past weekend, correct? Or this weekend. From my understanding, that's where they were going to be doing some of the mini mail survey training as well.
I know SAC's coming up soon.
I'm curious if we're going to have any candidates announcing their candidacy for national office. So if anybody was at the Southwest Area Conference... hit us up.
I ought to go to SAC so I can see my friend again.
Well, I will be at Mid-States with Michael, so...
Yes.
I will be there.
Yeah.
I have my reservations made at the Drury. I have my time off.
Yeah.
Yep. I will be at Mid-States this year.
I'm trying to decide to go to Maine for... what's the Eastern states?
Mm-hmm.
I just I don't like Maine in March.
Never been to Maine in general, so.
I have.
Okay.
I was there for a while.
That's the thing is I really don't have a lot of. I haven't been on the eastern states at all, really. So up at least in the northeastern side, I haven't been up there, so it's on my bucket list eventually.
Maine's a great place to hunt.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Good moose and elk population up there.
I tell you what, I won't say that Maine's an interesting state though. 2/3 of the people. Okay, it's a really big state. Okay, I got to make sure I say this right. 1/3 of the population lives on 2/3 of the land, and then the other third in the other 2/3 of the population lives in the other third of the land.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense. So down south by Portland,
it's heavy populated.
It's really heavy, and then when you get out to where I was stationed, it was just like nobody, you know. So when I say that when I was stationed up there, and this was news for months about the person who poached 5 moose in the off season. Okay. I mean, it happened. Okay. And it's bad. I mean, you know,
it would be like poaching elk in my old area.
But 6 months late, but 6 months later, they were still broadcasting updates about the investigation into the person who poached the 5 moose.
That's a lie. It was only 4.
God.
No, we're talking about a different case.
That's a lot of freaking meat. You know that?
That is.
Yeah, it is.
That is.
Yeah.
It's also where I found out that
It's a light snack till dinner.
that on a snowing day, when your one child is taking a nap and your pregnant wife is also taking a nap, and it's too cold to go outside and do anything, that watching curling on Canadian TV is actually pretty entertaining.
I'm gonna have to come smack you. Let me tell you something. I got my boys hooked on curling about 8 years ago. Now, whenever there's a curling competition going, everybody texts everybody what channel it's on. We were curling. I'm telling you.
we were so far. The base I was stationed at was so far remote. We actually got 2. Our cable had 2. We got CBC, the Canadian Broadcast Channel, and then another station. And seriously, for like, it was a month solid. It was the national Canadian curling champ. They had the men's
and the women's.
And then there was something, and then something else. Then it was like a mixed. Yeah. And it was like the whole month. And it was serious stuff, man.
Oh yeah.
but it was so freaking cold. And Terry was pregnant, and it was nap time, and there was nothing to do.
Watch some curling.
Do it.
Oh God, I'd have been in my pleasure glory there, man. Oh. Then again, I'd have woke up the baby and the wife too.
Right.
I will tell you though. Whenever the winter, it was when we were living in Iowa, the Winter Olympics and curling was on, and there was kind of when curling kind of became popular. There was actually a curling club in Des Moines, and I took my son and his buddy down to the Des Moines Curling Club, and they actually got to try curling. They got to actually toss the rock and do the slide and everything. It was kind of an enjoyable afternoon with them. That was.
I'll tell you what, you give me a plate of wings, some beer, Crown Royal. I'll sit there and watch curling all day.
Yeah.
There is actually a couple curling clubs up here in Michigan. One of them's about 45 minutes, about an hour from where I live, and the other one is a couple of them over by Traverse City. But I knew of the one in Lewiston, the one that's not too far by. But yeah, there's actually quite a few curling clubs here in Michigan. I'm quite surprised.
I'll tell you what, ain't nothing funnier than seeing a grown man and his 3 sons all on their hands and knees, slapping the floor, going, F, 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 whoa, 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 whoa.
We actually only
Yeah.
have 2 in the
Yeah.
UP, which surprises me. So there are 9 curling clubs in the state of Michigan, and 7 of them are in the Lower Peninsula, and only 2 of them are in the UP. Huh. I had to do
UP being what?
the Upper Peninsula of Michigan,
Okay.
above the Mackinac Bridge.
All right.
Yep.
Because I know UP, IP, we all pee. There you go.
Those of us below the Mackinac Bridge,
and
we're called trolls. And those that are above the Mackinac Bridge are called Yoopers. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now look at the flexibility that man's demonstrating, Mike.
Yeah.
You know?
Peak male performance.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
dragging-
That's like...
Looks like he's dragging his junk on the ice.
I think that's his knee, but I could be wrong.
There may be more than one stone on the ice. Yeah, there's the guy Schuster that was on the U.S. team,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been on there for years. He used to live at 907 Lenape Road on my route,
Oh wow.
and it's a good thing he moved because he cost the team the championship a couple of years ago, and I'd have gone and beaten the shit out of him. You know? Man, that pissed us off, you know.
So, Bill,
Oh.
you're going to do the mini mail survey training this week?
Yeah, I'm doing it Wednesday. Yes.
All right, and I am
And
doing
I'll
it
have an update for everybody next Sunday.
All right, I'm doing it the 25th. So the following week, I'll be doing it. That'd be interesting to compare notes.
Yes. Do I have to stay awake for this?
No.
Like I said, the first page tells me there's only 4 items that they're documenting, and then they list 5. Okay, what the hell?
Right.
Well, I think the 4 they're counting raw flats and letters as one.
No, they're not. Number 1 is random letters. Number 2 is random flats. Number 3 is PARS labels. Number 4 is office walk distances. And number 5 is miscellaneous office duties or activities. It says 5 after they said there's going to be 4. It's like,
What would miscellaneous office duties be?
Oh dear. You really want to open up that can of worms?
oh God.
Is this so? I mean, it would seem like all that stuff ends up going on the end of shift duties anymore.
Is column 17 anything that used to go into column 17? It's
Okay.
timed events.
Gotcha.
So, for example, if the customer gives you money to buy postage to mail something out, and by the time you get back, the window's closed, so you have to do it the next morning,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to buy a stamp, or you want to buy, you need to replenish your stamp stock, but you can't because there's no clerks, so you have to do it in the morning. They'll time you in the morning to do it, and you'll get the credit that way,
Gotcha.
rather than under the return to due.
Gotcha.
Or, as in our office, if they require you, when you go through your hamper, to take any missed throws to a supervisor, that's miscellaneous.
What about handing off a missed throw to the other route instead of putting it into?
In the throwback.
I guess you could time that as well.
That should be timed also.
Because
If I'm RD 22 and I have to hand it off to RD 14, the furthest away, guess what? I'm getting paid for it.
That actually is a good one to know, because we have this instance where this new box went up and it was a conflict of what route it was going to go to, because it sits right on the border of 2 zip codes and 2 different routes. And they weren't sure if they were an Oscoda or a Greenbush. And it actually took a few weeks to resolve it, getting a hold of the township offices to find out what township they were in to get it to the correct route. And so a lot of it still, and it actually is supposed to go to Greenbush, and a lot of it still comes addressed to Oscoda, so it goes to Route 5 when it should go to Route 11. So anytime mail gets to Route 5, it is then a handoff to Route 11. So that's a good one to know.
Yeah, and it's a matter of like some of our offices, we get the withdrawal time. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
we're a
it's funny-
withdrawal
it's
office as
funny
well.
because we get withdrawal time whether the clerks bring us the mail or not, folks. It's
Yep.
every day we get withdrawal time,
Mm-hmm.
and the postmaster. Oh no, just the days that the clerks don't bring it around. No, when they do it, it's on them. We're still charging you for the withdrawal time because it's part of our functions.
Yep.
And we and the funny thing is that we never do just one withdrawal because of the fact that, folks, the clerk's still throwing shit before you get out on the route.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not
Yep.
just, they give it to you first thing in the morning. When you go get your parcels, you're checking the hot case when you're coming back, coming through the area. So guess what? We're getting our withdrawal time no matter what.
Yeah, and that's the one
Yeah,
thing
the
I
only
do.
thing the courts-
I
The
know
only
with
time you don't is if all the carriers agree that they want to remove the withdrawal and have the clerks bring it to them, but then the clerks are responsible to bring it to you every day.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's not going to
Yeah.
happen. Not in our office.
Yeah. I can't say that I've ever met anyone in any office that opted not to do or to remove the withdrawal time at any count.
Now the other thing is stamp stock. How many of you actually carry stamp stock with you?
I don't.
Could you also keep a hold
Crickets.
of this one?
I have
Cricket.
I keep one book that I purchase one book at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had in the last 7 years, I don't think I've sold that full book yet. I've used more personally than I've sold.
I usually carry a book. That way, if I have somebody that puts their 60 cents in the mailbox on top of their letter, I can throw a stamp on it then. But yeah, that's
I
really
carry
it.
I carry three full sheets and one partial because sometimes people just, do you have a stamp? Yeah, and I turn around, sell it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Other times people say, do you have stamps? And I'll sell them the whole sheet, and then tell them to put the check in there. And nobody's ever stiffed me on that because I turn around and say, I know where you live.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, on my route, in the 7 years I've been on this route, I haven't even sold one full book's worth of stamps yet. So,
Right.
I end up
Yeah.
using more my set personally, and then when I run low, I go and buy another book.
I keep some in my drawer, and at Christmas time, when I get Christmas cards that come back, that they send out a big stack of Christmas cards, and they missed one or two because you didn't put a stamp on one or two, and they're coming back for postage due. I slap a stamp on it, throw it back in the outgoing mail, instead of giving it back to the customer to have them put a stamp on it. But I think
Oh, you're so nice.
that's my Christmas present. That's my Secret Santa gift to my customers.
Oh yeah, I've done that too with my elderly who have a bunch in there, and one may not have a stamp on it, and I'll just put a stamp on it and send it on its way. To me that's
it's mostly the senior community on my
Mhm.
that does it. So, but I think in the 2.5 years I've been on my route, I think I've had one person ask to buy a stamp off me.
I saw them at least once a month. There's always somebody. And as far
Always
as Mike being a Secret Santa, but the only time I'm a Secret Santa is on Christmas Eve, and I leave the UPS, FedEx, or DHL packages in the mailbox. The rest of the year,
Oh, okay.
I take them back. The rest of the year, I take them back. You know?
You take them back for postage due?
No.
Boy. No,
No.
you just
What's it? A139 is
Yeah.
supposed to be brought back and set and collected for them to carry, pick up,
oh yeah.
and they re-deliver. Yeah.
Try again and don't use. Try again and don't use my mailbox.
Yeah. The thing about throwing them on the ground, that's not what we're instructed to do. We're instructed to bring them back.
We
and
had
let them re-deliver them.
we have very few instances of that in my office, but we did have one of those instances. It was one of those houses where the mailbox is on one road and they live down the little 2-track trail. And FedEx had put a package in the mailbox, and the carrier brought it back to the office, as she should. And neither one of management knew what the hell to do with it, so they told her to take it back out and re-deliver it at the mailbox. And she looked at me, and I said, "Unscannable parcel?" Get credit for that, bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
As if that's what they want you to do with it, it's an unscannable parcel. She's like, okay. What else were we talking about, guys, before we started recording? We had some good stuff. I don't know. Maybe I should talk about my little instance of what happened on the route training, but I don't know if I really want to put that out there.
We were talking about training before.
We were.
And then we got off on other topics.
I'm going to say this. When you're training RCAs, or when you're training anybody, and we all know we don't do U-turns, we don't do, in our 4003s may say, and retrace or return. Or we miss a street and we have to go back to it. Please teach the RCAs, if you are training them, that we do not drive on the shoulder of the road against traffic. That is all I'm going to say about that.
You take the fun out of everything.
On a 5-lane highway? No. No. We
Details, as minor as they may be.
Yeah. Safety is number one, and driving on the shoulder in the opposite direction of traffic is not safe for anybody, especially when you're riding in the jump seat.
Oh, but it's fun.
So you're telling me that back when we had POVs, and this guy had a station wagon, he would do the route backwards because he would drive down the wrong side so he could hit the mailboxes. That's not allowed?
Technically, it's not supposed to be. Though there have been routes that I have thought about doing that, like my aux route. Like, man, if I got to take my Jeep out there, I could just run it backwards. It's only a 98 box route and back roads, but I'm thinking, no, I don't want to do that. But no, if you miss a road...
The funny thing is, we didn't find out about this guy doing it until a school bus driver called up, because he told the school bus driver he was in front of a school bus and wouldn't move, and got out and told the school bus driver he's a federal employee, he has the right of way.
Oh my. Yeah, you still have to abide by the laws of the road. And if you're out there during school drop-off, or I'm going to say in the rare instance of like pick-up, afternoon kindergarten, something, please stop. Let those kids get safely home and then continue on your way. The same for emergency vehicles. I did have that instance on a route last week where ambulance was backing out of a driveway with a patient, and I was 2 mailboxes before the mailbox for that house, and I waited. Wait for the emergency vehicles to clear the scene before you continue going on. Drive on the proper lane of the road with traffic, not against traffic. Safety, people. Common sense and safety. Yeah.
It's we have a carrier that we call Jet, and appropriately, it's because he's the fastest guy between mailboxes known to man.
Oh yeah, we
And
have a
women.
couple of those.
And one day he got done his round. He's back at 110. I'm leaving at 110. He's coming back at 110. And another carrier needs to use his truck because theirs broke down. So they're loading up the truck. They get out in the parking lot. They're driving to the first stop sign, which is on the property, and they drift right through it. It's like, okay, they had another 80 feet before they had a stop sign before the road, and luckily they pulled on the emergency brake, put it in park, because they weren't moving it. Came back and says the truck has no brakes. So our Vomo guy turns around, gets the truck and gets it back to a parking spot. The carrier unloads into another vehicle. The Vomo guy pulls off the wheel. Says, not only do you have no brakes, you got no rotors either.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh my, how the hell are you driving this vehicle? Jesus. I mean,
And there is such a
He's
thing
driving it fine.
for those that live in.
He's just not stopping.
Yeah,
And-
but we stress, you're the most important delivery. Get home safe to your family. And this guy doesn't even have any appreciation for his own damn safety.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my God. Yeah.
And there is such a
Even
thing
people
as
had better sense than this guy.
putting too much weight in the back of an LLV. Those that live in the northern regions or areas where you got to add some weight in the wintertime, we have the puzzle weights for the floor. We have some sandbags to put over the wheel wells. But there is such a thing as too much weight. And you're bogging down the LLV. And if somebody's got to use that LLV, not only that RCA is not only covering your route, but they're also having to run their ox route with your LLV, and it happens to be muddy out, and all you're doing is sinking into the mud because you have too much weight in there. Yes, there is such a thing as too much weight.
Too much weight.
Yes, I'd rather have
All right,
no weight or not enough and be having fun in that LLV on those back roads than having too much weight and getting stuck in a mud pile.
That brings me to the story of Tommy, an RCA who was a large man, and our Voma guy would only put 2 bolts into the jump seat, diagonally opposed from each other. And the carrier had to make an emergency stop with Tommy seatbelted in the jump seat. Tommy ended up in the dash with the seat still strapped on his ass because all his weight snapped them damn bolts off.
Oh my.
Of course, Tommy never got in another jump seat after that. We got him a sidecar.
And and if you have a trainer in the back who is wrapped up in blankets and snowsuits and it's only in the mid to low 30s outside, quit turning the heat off in the LLV. You know what? You can roast your nuts for all I care. If I'm in the back and I'm freezing my ass off, please turn that heat on.
Well, like last week with my trainee, I let her drive the first part of the route. And we got to a certain point, and I was gonna cut her off at the halfway point, and I had to cut her off earlier because when you're in the jump seat, your knees are higher than your hips.
Yes.
And my knees are kind of shot from enough parachute jumps that I don't need to be sitting there with my knees up like that all damn day. And I go to get out of the back of the truck, and I held on to that damn fucking handle because I knew if I jumped out of that truck, I was going down. So she turns around, and she's in the back there, and she goes, "You said you had bad knees," and I said, "Well, they're not bad as long as they're still, moving." I said, "But when they're sitting, higher than my hips and my weight's displaced incorrectly," I said, "they tend to get sore." And she goes, "I've been back here for 20 minutes. My knee's hurting." And I said, "Don't tell me why."
Oh.
Oh, shut up.
So yes, smoke breaks are mandatory when you're training somebody, and you're stuck in the jump seat, and that not necessarily having to have a cigarette. Most or maybe it is in some cases. All right, I need out. I need a cigarette before we can continue. But let's get the blood flowing back in the legs.
Well, I've got a 3/4 inch piece of plywood between my front and back partition, so no parcels slide underneath the front tray.
Uh-huh.
And I had a guy that I trained, and he's sitting there with his feet on the damn plywood with his feet hanging over the trays. And I'm like, all right, you're done. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, we're going back to the office. I took him back to the office. He wouldn't put his feet down. He said, it's uncomfortable. I said, get over yourself. Everybody goes through this. But he wouldn't put his feet down. It's like, when you're on an airplane and somebody behind you sticks their feet up on your armrest.
Yes.
Nah, it's not happening. Just have a little common sense, a little common courtesy, folks. I know it's not allowed in the post office, but on the route it should be.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
I'm still imagining Tommy in the damn jump seat flying forward after shearing off 2 bolts. Oh God.
The Adventures of Training. That's the title of this episode. The Adventures of Training our new RCAs. Yes. But yeah, it definitely, like I said, I got another one coming up. So
the last RCA I trained, I had to continually remind myself that I once was new. He thought I was really pissed off in the back, and it's like, oh my God, I gotta stop being so pissed off that he's going so slow.
Well, I
fall asleep.
Because I have my aux route.
I wish I would have.
And I have my aux route too. So the first 2 days out on the street, we got through his part, and I said, all right, pull over at the gas station here, because now you're going to go for a ride on my aux route. So he did. He did for 2 out of the 3 days. He went. The third day, the postmaster's like, no, bring him back and then go run it. I said, all right, I'll leave it here. So, but yeah, you're gonna go for a ride on my aux route too when I'm training you, because, well, you're gonna be running it eventually, so you might as well know where it's at.
Yep. Then there was the guy Brian Gleason had one day. He's back there eating his lunch, and Brian's like, "What are you eating?" He says, "Sardines."
Oh God.
Oh God.
Sardines.
That's just a smell. That's just one of those smells that you don't forget.
That's one of those smells you don't want to smell all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's better than smelling kimchi in the back of your truck too.
Oh, I've had to deliver that. Trust me.
Oh yeah, I have to.
Yeah, on a hot July day. Boy, they had it coming the second time they had it coming. And I looked at the bag it was coming in and the package, and I knew what it was by the smell of it. And I actually looked up the vendor, so I knew exactly what she was ordering. And so it was the middle of July. Yeah, that sucker, and they had a little, not the huge farm box, but the medium-sized mailbox. Yeah, that sucker went in the mailbox. I'm thinking, yep, that'll be even more riper by the time you pull it out.
I mean, as an EMT, I discovered some rotting bodies, in the field,
Mm-hmm.
burning bodies and everything else. But kimchi, I'll tell you what, I give you credit. You could even eat that stuff, because that is nasty stuff. It really is.
Yep. It is.
It is.
Oh my God.
Nothing like fermented cabbage. Yeah. Let's just say the second time, like I said, the second time I had to deliver it to that house and put it in the mailbox. Here, now it's your misery. Because I had to smell this for the first hour and a half in my car. Yeah.
Yep. It's one of them things where you don't ever forget that smell.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Nope.
Definitely not. All right, guys, you about ready to wrap it up for the evening?
Yes.
An hour and a half. Wow, it's kind of a late one. So yeah, tomorrow's a holiday. I know y'all will
Well,
have the day off tomorrow. I will go in and case mail with my 2 new RCAs. That'll be fun. Um,
I got to file a grievance for somebody who came in last Monday who failed to sign up for the holiday, or 2 Mondays ago, there's a holiday,
uh-huh.
and they came in without approval. And I'm sitting there going, okay, where's your name on the sign up sheet? Well, I didn't know there was a sign up sheet. Well, how'd you know you could come in? Well, we were told to sign the sign up sheet. I said, but you didn't sign the sign up sheet. Well, where is it? And I took them over, showed them the bulletin board, and I showed them where I marked closed on it because they had to report or sign up by Friday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturday morning, I write closed on there. That way, nobody is coming in. And well, you can't do that. Yes, I can. This is my bulletin board. You know? And if management comes up with a time frame that you have to honor, guess what? It's the same thing as doing the overtime, the workday relief list.
Yep.
Once that date hits, I mark closed. Well, I meant to, but you didn't. I wanted R5. Well, you're getting R3, folks. You didn't sign up in time.
You mean the one where I could be wrong, but I think they still haven't faxed ours in to district yet?
Well, right now in our office, every route in our office is now a K route. So everybody's saying, well, what's my drop day? I just say, if you had a drop day as a J or a K route, it remains the same. But the 2 H routes we have never had a drop day. I said, just write Saturday as your drop day.
Yep.
Put R5 down there. And that's what they're doing. Until we get the mini mail survey done, until we get a new matrix up, guess what? Yeah,
And or they recalculate.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
And I hate to say it. I think the mini mail survey is going to drop us a little bit.
That's
I really do.
the goal of, at least I know my POOM, is they want to keep the routes as small as possible.
Well, ours is to keep them as high as possible because they can't hire enough people.
Yeah, ours, they want,
Right, so
want,
what are you going to do on RD4, which has 719 CBU deliveries coming in? And he's already a K route.
mm-hmm.
We
Yeah,
might have to make another route. No kidding. I swear to God, if stupidity was the gold medal standard, my office would be platinum.
No, I'm telling you.
Well, I'm just hoping they'll cut me sooner than later. And the good news is, across the street from my newest development subdivision I have,
You got another one coming
they
in?
just started clearing land last week.
Well, you can put a request in
So-
still.
I have a request in.
Oh, okay.
It's already, Ops already approved the request. I just have agents in my building locally that are the ones that actually have to submit paperwork and packet.
Gotcha. Yep.
And it's a matter of I need someone to run the numbers because I was going to give up a bunch of CBUs and take writing, a little bit of writing from the other route. But I haven't been able to get anyone to work the numbers to see where she'd end up. Adding the CBUs and removing her curbside. If she'd stay the same or go up, where she'd end up.
I'm at the point where I don't want them to change my route because I'm at that age where my high 3 is a K48 right now.
That's where our senior carrier is too.
Yeah.
She's very private, but we're all pretty sure this may be her last full year. She is a 48K. She doesn't have a sub. I do cover it when I can. And, she's right up there too. She's, table 1, step 12, 48K. And I wouldn't want to get cut either if I was in her position. And she'll be 69 this year. She runs circles around half the other carriers.
Yeah.
You know, I don't blame her one bit. I wouldn't want to be cut either if I was in her position for that high 3.
Hell no. Yeah, that's what, 90,564 hours a year?
91. Yeah.
90, is it 91?
Yes. Yep. With the last general wage increase, it's just over 91. Yeah, I don't blame her one bit, or you.
At step 4, I'm at 80, right around 85.
Yeah, and I will be a table 2 when I go regular at the end of the summer.
Yep.
And I am so sorry for you and everyone else in that position.
Yeah, unfortunately, the post office really, or the union didn't really have much of a chance to fight that.
No, and
the other unions were behind that table, you know.
Yeah,
APWU ratified it in, and then both us and the NALC handed it in arbitration.
Yep. And as much as I try to explain that to my carriers, well, here's another scenario.
Perspective. Go ahead.
My office is not an Amazon hub, therefore we don't do Amazon on Sundays. However, the office south of us, about 20 miles, there's actually 2 offices. The towns run together, but they're 2 different zip codes. They were duoed at one time, and then they were split apart, so you still have Tawas and East Tawas. East Tawas is the hub now, and it has been mandatory, starting today, actually, that they do Amazon Sundays. Did I mention that neither one of these offices at the current moment have 0 RCAs? So they've been trying to find other ones in the area to come in and help out. I did have an email attached to my case the other day if I was interested, and at this point it was just an option, so I declined. I'm like, Sunday currently is my only day off right now. And I am going to have to decline. If I get mandated, that's one thing, I'll go down there. But I was explaining to one of the regulars was blowing up my messages yesterday. And he used to be an RCA in my office, so I know him quite well. And, why would I volunteer? He's like, I was told if we volunteer to come in, not to clock in under Rex or anything, and they don't count. I said, no, Sunday Amazon delivery does not count towards your evaluation. Why the hell would I want to go in and deliver packages if it doesn't count? I said, Sunday has never counted for anybody because it's outside of the normal delivery week. Therefore, unless that package is a business closed or of something of that nature, so you'll get credit for it when you actually deliver it during the week. I said, but yeah, anything on Sunday does not count towards your evaluation as an Amazon Sunday delivery office.
Yeah. And that's why, normally I won't do an Amazon Sunday because guess what, folks? I'm not taking the cut on the parcels that I'll get credit for on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about the time and a half. I don't need the damn money.
Yep.
The point is that I want my route to get the full allocation of parcels that's entitled to.
And yeah,
And
I totally get.
I'll
I get his frustration in that. I really do. It's the same thing. That's just how it has always been, and I had to explain that to him a couple different times in a couple different ways before he finally oh, okay, well, I'm not going to volunteer my time if I don't get, well, then you don't have to volunteer your time. They can't mandate you. And if they want to mandate you, then you need to get a hold of the ADR and grieve that thing. I can't help you right now. I'm not an area steward, so.
Oh, that's the one where they tried to get us the week before Christmas, mandating, gave us letters. Mandating us to do that, and I called Bosniak right off the bat.
Yep.
I got 6 carriers, including myself, paid $150 for that day.
Yep.
and we never went in.
Good.
You know, even people who don't like me as a steward.
Mm-hmm. I've been
Right,
getting the
Yep.
feedback in my office that I'm not as gung ho, or I'm not doing as much. But as I try to explain to them, I am the steward. I can't do anything. If you're feeling aggrieved, you need to file that grievance before I can do anything for you. And that hasn't quite clicked with people in my office yet.
Kristen, I have people who have almost 20 years experience, and they come over with a grievance form because I have a stack of them on a plastic lucite holder on my case.
Mm-hmm.
They fill it out, they come over and give it to me, and I said, "Did you talk to the supervisor?" "No, isn't that what you do?" I said,
No.
"Did you read the instructions on the grievance form?" "Well, there's no instructions here." I said, "There's 2 pages."
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, no, I didn't read that." I said, "I'll talk to you tomorrow."
Well, that was like a few weeks ago. There was, being the only sub in the office since just before Thanksgiving, and we had one specific carrier who was getting her K days, and nobody else was getting their K days. And so they're feeling, unfortunately, you're the low man on the totem pole and you're on the relief day work list. There's not much I can do for you at that point, even though I'm assigned to your route. Yeah, you're the only one in the office that actually has an RCA assigned to your route, but yeah, it's... I try to tell them, and it's hard to explain it to them to where that clicks with them, and yeah,
Common sense is not so common.
It's just, anyways, a few weeks ago, the postmaster come out and said, nobody's going to get nobody's going to have any more leave granted. You can't submit any more leave through whatever time. And they're all like, what? And I said, anytime she wants to do a direct order like that goes against the contract, because Article 10 says, even though, an RCA is assigned an aux route, does not mean they're not available. So I know, I've been running 2 routes a day forever. I told him, I said, if she's going to give that direct order, I said, ask for it in writing. If she puts it in writing and gives it to you that you cannot submit leave, or, you won't be, I said, then I can do something for you. I said, unless I have it in black and white, there's not much I can do. I said, I need things documented, guys. I can't do a he said, she said. It's not going to go anywhere.
Nope, no.
That is the one biggest thing. If, you're feeling, you need documentation for any type of grievance to move forward. Whether, it's...
Then again, you can have a situation like we had where the supervisor made a floor announcement to everybody that they would be mandated to work their drop day until further notice. And then 2 minutes later, some asshole went around and told everybody to write a statement as to what they heard.
Mm-hmm.
So that I had the grievance the next day, and I had 16 carriers with statements, in regards to what she had actually said. And I took it to the postmaster, and he goes, "Oh, no, that's not what she meant." I said, "Well, this is what she said. This is what's documented." And he goes, "Well, you must have." I said, 16 of us misheard what she said. I looked at him, and he said, "God, I fucking hate you."
Yeah, at that point you have something. At that point you have a class action.
Yeah.
But if everybody's just going to verbally bitch about something they said, there's nothing. And I went back and I went through and I told them all. I said, if they're going to give a direct order, or they're going to say you can't do this, and you guys have a, I think that goes against contract. I said, ask for it in writing. I said, that'll stop her dead in her tracks, number one, because now she knows, oh shit, they're going to fight me on this. And if she produces it in writing, I do have one carrier that is documenting everything. He's using his little Union Pocket calendar to document everything. I said, I can't do anything without documentation. So if you guys think that I'm being laxed on stuff, it's because you're not giving me anything that I can do to work with. I can't do it for you.
And like like you said, if they get into a situation where it's he said, she said, they said,
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten away with more stuff that I've said to the postmaster or supervisors because there's me and them, and there's nobody else to verify what I said.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the stuff I've told them, I probably get fired for, but there's no proof, is there?
No.
And since we have an antagonistic type relationship already, I'll say, well, they're just being vindictive.
Mm-hmm.
And they come back and say, well, you're just being an asshole. Yes, I am.
All right. So we're actually
Once
gonna
you walk into that office and close that door.
What's that?
I said, once you walk into that office and close the door, you both are on the same level.
Oh, no, I'll say it on the floor. I'll make sure nobody's around, and I don't say it loud enough for, anybody to hear or read my lips or anything. And I'll just, quietly say something to them. And, they'll sit there and look at me like, you can be fired for that. For what? I didn't say anything. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
But to get back to one point for you, Kristen, in regards to the table 2.
Yeah.
If I'm in business, okay, the table 2 was necessary because of the fact that the pay was just getting out of control in regards to being competitive in this market.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right, it's not fair, but it was necessary.
And I understand that. I really do. I mean, I as being a former business owner and being in positions of having to watch finances in previous industries, I do understand that completely.
Yeah.
But to a point,
it just sucks it happened to you.
Yeah, it really does, because we're all doing the same job. And you're all doing the same job, and you're, and so what's the fairness of somebody that's running a 42J on table 1 making $15,000 more than person running a 42J on table 2?
Or the person who's been in RCA for 8 years making the same amount of money as the guy who just started, a week ago.
Yep.
And then training them on top of it.
Is wrong. Yeah, and that is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
When you're training somebody, guess what? You ought to get a 5% bump.
Even an extra $1 or $2 an hour for those hours.
Yeah.
Something. But they're literally, there is no incentive out there to be a trainer. There's no other than, I'm going to do what I can and hopefully you make it, because I would like a break, please and thank you. I mean, growing up, paychecks have been nice, but I'm exhausted. And I still have to go run my ox route when I'm done training them. So
yeah, and in our office with the new contractual rules in regards to the 2 pay periods, I've had the supervisor postmaster come over and ask if I could take somebody on and train them, and I explained, no, you can't do it. You got to go through the 4 weeks, the 2 pay periods. And they go, we don't waste this time. It doesn't matter. The contract says. And they said, yeah, but you'll know within 2 days whether or not they're going to make it. And I says, I'm not even training them. I'll tell you right now, they're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is watch the people, for 5 minutes, and you say, okay, yeah, they're not into it. If you're training somebody and they're texting, guess what? They're not going to make it.
Oh, they're coming in with the know-it-all attitude of, that you're not, no, you don't know it all. I don't know it all. It's not gonna help you coming in with this inflated ego on your shoulders, walking in the door and thinking, oh, I got this, but Lord forgive if you're going to tell me to do something that I don't want to do, and, well, I'm going to walk. Well, You're not going to make it.
Well, it's like we have an RCA in our building now that I was talking to the PTF. She says he's not going to make it. He came in, he came from graphic design, and he thought he was getting a quote unquote warehouse job. I mean, he asked, we got to go out and deliver the mail. It's like, what'd you apply for? RCA? Yep. You got to go out and deliver the mail.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how long he lasts.
Yeah, but okay, let's start with a training format, okay? My lady comes in on Monday to train with me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
First thing I do is I show her where we sign the 4240s. Then I show her where we clock in on the scanner. Then I take her out and we do a PTI on the truck. When we come back from the truck, we walk over to where the flats are. We collect up our flats and we collect up our hot case mail. We bring them over to, our case because the parcels aren't done yet. We start throwing the mail. When we have bundles, she can do them, and that first day she started with the bundles because they were kind of in order. And then we get a holler that, the A2 parcels are done. Then we go over and get the A2 parcels. Well, I'm going to have her hunt and peck with the rest of the raw flats while I segregate the parcels, for the route.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's got to learn the case. If you don't learn the case, you're not going to learn the route. Once you learn the case, you can see the route after you've driven it twice.
Yes.
Right.
And now you can put the spurs and parcels in order too, because now you know the flow of the route via the case. You have to learn the case. But the thing of it is that from the second day, okay, we came in, I signed in, I went and did the PTI. I told her to go get the flats and letters. I only showed her once where they were. And that's where you start. The next day, you show them once. The next day, you put them, let them go out and, learn what they have to do, where to go, and what to collect and everything. And then they come back to the case. If they have a problem, then you show them the second time. The third time, if they don't get it, then they're not paying attention. They're not invested in it because of the fact that, the cases don't move for the hot case or the flats, the clerk flats.
Correct.
Right.
But again, you've got to make them do it. Okay, you have to you basically have to teach them how to walk, and you have to do it right. I've got people that turn around, they get the subs at the case, and they start talking to them right off the bat while they're throwing mail, and the RCA sitting there watching them. It's like, well, what the fuck are they learning?
And this is where I'm actually.
Did you
Go ahead.
Did you actually take them out to check the truck? No, because most of our carriers don't check their truck in the morning. Or they go out, they start it up, let it run for 30 seconds, and that's done. Most of our carriers don't have stamp stock, but they want credit for it during the count. Or mini mail survey now, excuse me.
That's not something you would get credit for during the survey.
I have a question.
That's not something you would get during the survey. That's something you would get as you sell it on the street.
Yeah.
When you put it in your scanner.
Yep.
All right, I have a question in relation to the rec scans and training. As an office OJI, so I'm training them on the route, and the regular is coming in at a later time to take his portion of the route while I'm out riding with them. To train them, to me, to be training them properly with the rec scans, they should be the ones clocking in on the route. Am I correct? Or are we waiting for the regular to come in and letting them clock in? This is one thing that has not been...
in because they are the ones, they're getting paid evaluation for the day.
And they're getting the credit for the routes evaluation and deliveries too.
Correct. That's... But how are we supposed to, when they have that first day of when they're on their own?
Then they're clocking in.
Exactly, and I explained that to the new person on Friday because I didn't. They came in at 7:30 to start, And I didn't come in until my start time for my aux at 9. But then I find out after the fact from the supervisor that they only did like half of the required scans. So this is where it's hard as an office OJI to teach them the proper the scanning of recs, the six scans. I'm just going to go with the 6 mandatory scans right now, because it's not something they're doing on the daily basis for at least those 3 first days.
I've shown my sub all 6 days, the mandatory 6 scans. While we were out in the route, explained every scan, door miscellaneous, okay? Multiple trips, the authorized dismounts. Every day I show her on the scanner how I'm prompting the scanner for the functions I'm doing.
Okay.
And you have to.
Yeah, and no, I agree. I agree. I think I'm going to ask for another training day, a full day, with the newer one I trained this week, just from start to finish training day on the whole route. I ride with them. That way I can go through each and every one of those rec scans as they come up on the route with them. I think that would probably be in the best interest of that. Now, tomorrow...
My lady's got a copy of the 6 page, the 6 mandatory, that whole page.
Yeah,
there.
I got to get...
And then she's got...
print those out tonight for the new guys.
The 4 page, and then I got the extra 4 pages, which give the scans and the explanations when they use them.
Yep, and those are the ones I'm going to be printing out tonight to take with me tomorrow morning for the 2 new guys. Now, the newest one, it just went through Academy this past week. I guess he was explained the rec scans pretty good. Said the other one went through Academy back in December, but because of the holidays didn't actually start the OJI until this past week. So it's just going to be of getting him in. So I just want to make sure under your guys's that, we were doing it correctly with the regular clocking in on the route. But I do want to try and, because that's kind of my baby in the office is the rec scans.
I always like the one that even regulars forget all the time, the parts of route.
Start
all
load.
The time.
The start load and end load seem to be the ones in my office that are forgotten quite a bit. And I want to say even the scanning of for the VMF scan for the trucks, the mileage scan, I think is one that they forgot as well this past week. So I just, this was only the second one I've trained as an OJI, so I'm trying to get into a routine myself for further ones on what I can change and what's going to work best. I'm making sure I hit all the high points. Okay, honestly,
do you have a copy of that training manual that they get?
Yes,
I have Academy,
all. Yes, I do.
Bring back with them?
Yes, and in fact, I had asked the most recent one. I said, "Do you have your OJT book? Because it's got the check sheets and sign off sheets in the back." And he's like, "What book?" And I explained to him. Oh yeah, I said I asked him on Wednesday. I said, "Will you please bring that tomorrow with you?" He brought me a copy of the book, the 603, and his Academy book. And I'm like, you didn't get another one? No, these are the only 2 I got. Okay. So I think I'm going to have to do some more training with this one after I get this next one done this week. And I'm going to let the management know on Tuesday. But I know I got copies of those, so...
Okay. I was because it makes it so much easier because then it pretty much spells everything out for you.
Mm-hmm. It's just with the rec stuff is the rec scanning and getting them in exactly.
The one
No, it's not, and that's that was my thing on trying to get them in the routine with the rec scanning is the biggest hurdle at the moment. And getting in that habit of clocking in on the scanner and and all that stuff. So I kind of know where I want to go with this next one this week on all that. So I was just kind of getting your guys' input, you know. But on that note, we're going on 2 hours. So, Mike, any final thoughts tonight?
No, I think we covered a lot tonight. Just, always be careful out there. Do the things you know that are right things to do, and everything else will take care of itself.
Josh, I know you came
Peace
in
out.
late. Josh, I know you were late to the conversation.
Yep. Even though it's wintertime, you can still get dehydrated, so hydrate.
Somebody reads his scanner
Don't
messages.
get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed. If you do, take a step back, take a breath, step back in. Try and have a good week. Hopefully it won't be too ugly and horrible on Tuesday.
Bill, what's your final thoughts and words this evening?
Oh, God. Everybody, study up on the Rex information. It's going to be somewhat overwhelming because this is going to be the first time we're doing it. Management's inexperienced. They have not, put the effort into understanding all the input. If you have any questions, ask management. If they can't answer them, then come see your steward or call your ADR or area steward. Everybody just be careful. It's funny that Josh mentioned about, dehydrating, because I make the mistake in the wintertime of not drinking enough water. And, that's a big thing. And one of the medical causes for people with Alzheimer's and, other dementia type, situations, that they don't have enough fluid in their system. And they find that causes a shrinkage of the brain. And the next thing you know, you're a postal supervisor. I'm sorry. But be aware of the fact that you still need to hydrate during the winter as much as you do in the summer. Okay. Everybody be attentive in training new RCAs. You remember when you were a new person, give them the best of your ability to train them, because of the fact that the better job they do for you, the more likely when you come back from your drop day or vacation on that, there's not going to be a boatload of mail backed up because they didn't put the effort in, or you didn't put the effort in. And that's more important. You have to put more effort in than they do. They have to just learn. You have to be able to train. You're the most important delivery, folks. When you're done your tour, go home. Kiss your family, make dinner, play with the kids, but get home, because they're the ones that really count in your life. The post office is just a job. Okay? Be safe, and God bless everybody, and go Eagles.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. As an RCA myself, and as a newer office OJI, and I know the lack of subs is nationwide, and we see the turnover almost, quite often. RCAs in and out, in and out, in and out. I can't stress enough for some of those regulars out there, RCAs are people too, and you need to treat them with respect. And I've seen enough regulars drive RCAs, decent RCAs, off because they treat them like garbage. And just remember, you started out as an RCA at one time. I get it. You did your time. You're a regular now. You want to enjoy your annual leave and use up your sick leave. But you also have to remember that RCA is also a person. And you need to treat them respect and help them along the way. Even if you have an office trainer, you're still responsible for helping train that RCA on your specific route. And yeah, on that note, guys, we'll be back next week as we're finding out more information on this upcoming mini mail survey, with a couple of us going to training for that. We'll be updating you. And take care and enjoy your holidays off if you're not an RCA and working tomorrow. Other than that, have a good night.